I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Ha Rakakwadash. Double honors unto our apostle elders, which rule Great Millstone well, and shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel, Wa Abba Babal. All right, so as you can see, the writing in the image, okay, it's self-explanatory. And this is evidence of why the so-called white race is known as the red devil. All right, which you can see this man is red. He is wearing a white collar. All right, and he does not blend in with the white collar, but the red tie. All right, now the red man is Esau, Edom. All right, and it tells you his history in Genesis 25. Genesis 25, it says in verse 19, and these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begot Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Padan Aram, the sister to Laban the Syrian. And Isaac entreated Yahweh for his wife because she was barren, and Yahweh was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. All right, now let me go to Romans 9, verse 11. It says, verse 9, it says, for this is the word of promise, which it was promised that Abraham would have a son, Isaac, and Isaac, his blessing would be passed down to his son, which he had twins, two sons, Esau and Jacob. It says, at this time will I come, and Sarah, the wife of Abraham, shall have a son, which is Isaac. And not only this, but when Rebekah also had conceived by one, even by our father Isaac, for the sons being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of all power Yahweh through his son Yahweh Shai, according to election, might stand, not of works, but of him that calleth. So the two sons is Esau and Jacob. All right. It says in verse 12, it was said unto her, the elder, which is Esau, shall serve the younger, which is Jacob. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. All right, now going back to Genesis 25 and verse 22, it says, and the children, which are the two sons, Esau and Jacob, struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of Yahweh, which she was told by a prophet, the prophecy. And Yahweh said unto her, through a prophet of the nation of Israel, all right, which we weren't known as the Israelites yet, but the sons of God. It says, two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, which is talking about Esau and Jacob. All right, two nations, two different nationalities, and two manner of people, which there's a common stereotype of Jake wanting to eat cooked meat well done, all right, and Esau loving blood. All right, my internet crashed, so I had to pause it and then start back up. I just put eating meat rare, and then I pulled up images, which just shows you bloody meat. All right, and whose face do they show eating it? Esau. All right, the so-called white race, which are the red devil the Bible speaks of. All right, and they love eating bloody meat. All right, this is because of their forefather Esau. He passed the family tradition down, which they love to eat bloody meat. All right. All right. See, there's a stereotype. It says right here, why so-called black folks love a well-done steak. All right. And it's because in the commandments we were told not to eat bloody meat. So it's in us, in our DNA. All right. To eat the meat well done. Okay. Now they were taught, you got some Jake that do eat unwell done. They call it rare steak, but that's because they were taught it. But for the most part, you're gonna have Jake that eat well done. Okay. See, look, Reddit. They even ask. That's a question that's asked in Reddit. Why do so-called black people seem to always like their steak well done? All right. Let's see what it brings up. See, it's a known fact. Why do so-called black people seem to always like their steak well done? Well, I'm gonna show you why. Because we're commanded not to eat the blood. All right, so it says in Deuteronomy 12 and 23, only be sure that thou eat not the blood, for the blood is the life, and thou mayest not eat the life with the flesh. And this is why Jake, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, for the most part, like their meat well done, even crispy. All right? But Esau, they will eat it rare and bloody. All right? Because they pursue blood. Okay? And this is where they got the name Edom. All right? Genesis 25 and let's see, 25, and I was at 23. And Yahweh said unto her, two nations, so the so-called white race came out of Esau, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, which are the Israelites, came out of Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. It says, and two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, which I showed you. One manner is they like to eat rare meat. The other manner is that they like it well done. It says, and that's only one speck of the whole aspect. It says, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and one people shall be stronger than the other people, which the so-called Negroes, the so-called Latinos, and the so-called Native American Indians are the strongest people on earth, and Esau are the weakest. All right, this is why they have to write executive orders to protect their race, because they're not superior, they're inferior. All right, and this is why they have a thing called white supremacy, which they're not white. I showed you this image, but you can see that man is clearly red. His shirt is white, and he does not blend in with the white shirt. He is red. All right. These are the accusers of the Israelites. This is the red devil the Bible speaks of, Esau, Edom, and their forefather was Esau. All right. Now let's go to Romans 9. All right. It says, verse 19, Romans 9, verse 19, thou wilt say then unto me, why doth he yet find fault? For who hath resisted his will? Because there's no free will. Everyone was preordained to be who they are by nation, all right, and by sex. You don't ever come back in the reincarnation as a different nation or a different sex. Whatever you are, whether you're male or female, you come back as that of your own race, being of your father's lineage. All right. So this is why Esau eats bloody meat still today in 2025. All right. Because that's a trait that was passed down in their DNA from their forefather Esau. And they like to murder, which this goes back all the way back to Cain. All right. It says in verse 20, Nay, but, O man, who art thou that replieth against Yahweh and his son Yahushai, which made everything? Shall the thing formed say to him that formed it, Why hast thou made me thus? And this is what Esau's done. All right, he don't want to be the wicked, but he is the so-called white race or the red devil the Bible speaks of. It says, Had not the potter, which is the Lord, power over the clay, which he created man, and that clay is Isaac, of the same lump, to make one vessel unto honor and another unto dishonor? Esau was created to be dishonored, and Jacob is created to be honored. Now it looks like we're being dishonored right now, but our God is just. So this means that he's soon going to turn the tables and raise us up and put them down in slavery under us, making it just. It says in Romans 9 verse 22, But if Yahweh, through his son Yahushai, willing to show his wrath and to make his power known, endured with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction, the Edomites. All right, it says the Lord hates Esau, and that's why he took away his heritage. He took away his birthright. He took away his color. He took away. Eventually, he's gonna make them extinct. It says in verse 23, And that he might make known the riches of his glory on the vessels of mercy, which he had afore prepared unto glory, which we're receiving the mercy right now in 2025. Verse 1 of 2 Corinthians 4, Therefore, seeing we have this ministry, as we have received mercy, we faint not. It says, verse 3, But if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost, which in America 2/3 of the nation of Israel are lost. All right, they cleave unto the way of Edom, the so-called white race, and this is why they're going to eat rare meat. This is why they're going to commit adultery. This is why they commit idolatry. This is why they commit sodomy, because they're in the way of Esau, and they can't get this truth because they believe in the lies that the red devil has taught them, like them being white or Christian. All right, all these are lies. They're covers. It says in verse 5, it says, For we preach not ourselves, but Hamashiach Yahushai the Lord, which we show you that the Bible clearly tells you the truth, and ourselves your servants for Yahushai's sake, which he called us into the marvelous light by the power of Yahweh. For Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, who commanded the light to shine out of darkness, had shined in our hearts. This is why we have the truth, through the Holy Spirit, to give the light of the knowledge of the glory of Yahweh in the face of Yahushua HaMashiach, which Yahushua HaMashiach is soon to return. So the Lord's giving us this truth, right, as he promised us. Malachi 4, verse 4, Remember ye the law of Moses my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb, for all Israel, not the Edomites, for the Israelites, which in our land today, you got Esau in our land as counterfeits with small hats. All right, those big-nosed bastards, which once again, they don't want to be the wicked. They want to be the righteous, but they are the wicked. All right, their actions speak loud. It says, with the statutes and judgments, Behold, I will send you Elijah, which he did, which we have Abba Bivens, 1969, 350 years after the first Southern Kingdom Israelite came on the slave ships known as part of the transatlantic slave trade, which they were gathering the Southern Kingdom from West Africa because they were running from the Edomite Roman in 78 AD, which we were all exiled out of that land and became Gentiles. All right, now the Lord's bringing us back into remembrance. It says, behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet, Abba Bivens, before the coming of the great and dreadful day of Yahweh. And he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the sons, which you had the elders of one west, King Mashah, and the other elders that were in that time. And the heart of the sons to their fathers, which you have great millstone today. They're the elder apostles of the nation of Israel in this time. Lest I come and smite the earth with the curse. Which back when we went back into the promised land, the southern kingdom, from Babylon, you had 3 waves: Zerubbabel, Ezra, and Nehemiah. And we're in the 3rd wave now of us remembering ourselves. Because you had Abba Bivens, King Masha, and now we're under the apostle elders that rule Great Millstone Well. All right? So, in reality, Apostle to heart by the Spirit could be Nehemiah or one of them prophets, because those prophets are back like Daniel. Daniel's back, and he was of the first wave with Zerubbabel, but it tells you in Daniel 12, verse 13, but go thou thy way till the end be, for thou shalt rest, meaning die, and stand in thy lot at the end of the days. Which Daniel is back, and he's prophesying as a prophet in Babylon. All right? Just as he was a prophet in Babylon, in ancient Babylon. All right? And he was one of the men that went back to the promised land with Zerubbabel. All right? So those men of those 3 waves back to Israel are here today, a remnant of them, and we're preserving this truth. All right? And even on the other hand, the wicked, they're reincarnated also into their lot. Like Trump is Nero. Trump is moving like the king of Babylon. The king of Babylon was a Syrian, all right, but he's moving in that spirit of trying to conquer the known world and make them worship him. And that's being promoted through Esau, Edom, the so-called white race, the red devils the Bible speaks of, which they have all these other nations confederate with Edom against the Israelite in these last days. All right. So now going back to Genesis 25 and 20. I'll read 23 again. It says, and Yahweh said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, Esau and Jacob, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people, the Israelites, shall be stronger than the other people, Esau. Esau's weaker. And another example of that is Jesse Owens. It says, and the elders shall serve the younger, which this hasn't happened yet. All right? The elders shall serve the younger, which they're going to go into slavery under us, and that's what they don't want. It says, and when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb, Esau and Jacob. The first came out red all over like an hairy garment, which his color of skin was red like a premature baby. And they called his name Esau, Ishawah, wasted away. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel. And his name was called Jacob, which he's the forefather of the Israelites, and were stronger than the Edomites. Our forefather wrestled an angel. The forefather of Esau couldn't even wrestle hunger. In fact, hunger got the better of him, and he sold his birthright to our forefather Jacob. It says, and Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents. All right, you can look up hunters. All right, this is a hunter magazine collection. And what do you see? Once again, you might have Jake that participate, but for the major part, it's the so-called white race. All right, that are known for being men of the field and hunting. All right, eating rare meat. All right. Number one photo. All right. Men, women, and children. All right. So then it says in Genesis 25, and here is the birthright. It says, verse 29, and Jacob sought pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint because he didn't catch nothing. And Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, which it was red because it wasn't cooked yet. Remember, they eat rare meat. For I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom, which means red. Adawamyam, which this is why the so-called white people, all right, they changed their name to white because they didn't want to be known as being the Edomites. And this ain't nothing new. When Alexander the Greek, before he was known as a Greek, he was known as a Macedonian. And then after they were known as Greeks, they were known as what? Romans. Because they're running from who they are. They are the red devil, Esau Edom, the wicked that rule the world today. All right, it says, and Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright. And Esau said, behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me? Right? Because he didn't care, just like Cain. Cain didn't care about the correct order of which was handed down from Adam. So it says in verse 33, and Jacob said, swear to me this day, and he sware unto him, which is a verbal contract, which is still legal today where I am in the United States. And he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. Being the firstborn, he was supposed to inherit the kingdom of heaven. But it was given to his brother Jacob, and it was all pre-planned. It was already preordained by Yahweh. All right? And it was fulfilled through Yahweh Shai, which came as Isaac. All right? He was Adam, and in the reincarnation, he was Isaac. All right? And it tells you in 2nd Ezra 6 and verse 8, it says, and he said unto me, which is an angel giving the vision to Ezra, and he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the hill of Esau, which when they were born, Esau was the first, and Jacob was born second, holding on to the hill of Esau, which showed the strength of Jacob. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, which it was prophesied. It was prophesied when Jacob would rule, he would rule after Esau ruled, which Esau was the Greeks They're the Romans. They're the Americans. They're the European that are of the European Union. All right. And these Edomites rule the world with a beast system. All right. It says, verse 10, the hand of man is betwixt, meaning between the hill and the hand. Other question, Ezra, asked thou not. So the actual birth of Esau and Jacob was a timeline, all right, of when we would rule. After Esau, we would rule, all right, and we're going to rule forever, all right. And just to show you that Esau, you know, he couldn't wrestle hunger, and our forefather Jacob wrestled an angel. All right, so in Genesis 32, all right, the Lord had an angel wrestle Jacob. All right. Let me see. Here it is in Genesis 32, verse 24. And Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day, which he was trying to go back to the promised land, which was promised to his forefather Abraham and Isaac. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh. So the angel dislocated his hip, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint. As he wrestled with him, and he said, Let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. And he said unto him, What is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, Thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel, Yasharallah, the prince of the power. For as a prince thou hast thou power with Yahweh and with men, and has prevailed. And this is why Jake is the star of whatever he puts his mind to, whether it's singing, whether it's dancing, whether it's art, whether it's whatever it is. Jake becomes the best of the best because we have that ability with Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai, which makes us better than all the other nations' men. All right. And it started with our father Jacob, which was the son of Isaac, which was the son of Abraham. All right. And these blessings go to us, the Israelites, today. Now, 2/3 in America reject this truth, but 1/3 will receive it and be saved when Yahushua returns to gather his elect, the nation of Israel, the remnant, which he's going to start the earth over again with that remnant, which are going to be righteous. We're going to receive new bodies that don't sin, and his righteous law is going to be enforced on earth. All right. And that's another separation, is the earth is wicked, but the wicked are ruling. The Edomite, the so-called white race, they push wickedness on the earth. All right. When Jacob rules, the people will rejoice because we were righteous in our doings. All right. Esau, he robs you and leaves nothing behind. It says in Obadiah that even the grape gatherer leaves some grapes behind. Esau, he'll take everything. He'll take the grapes, he'll take the land, he'll take the wife, he'll put the man in prison, put the wife in bondage, put the children in custody, right? He'll do all these things and say, am I my brother's keeper? See, that's the devil. The so-called white race, they're the red devil the Bible speaks of. Shalom to the elect. Wa abal babal.